Dylan, I'm here. I'm just mixing my drink.
Sounds good.
It's non-alcoholic.
Yeah, that was my comment. I was coming up with it, Jackie. I wanted to find a nice way to say it.
Dylan.
Yep.
Monty's having some technical difficulties right now. If you want, I can do my report first and see if he can get that figured out.
Sure, that works for me. Let me get back to the right window. I assume, oh, there he is.
Sorry for that, team.
Hey, all right, unless I hear from IT in the next 2 or 3 seconds, they're not ready for me. I'll get the countdown going. All right, let's start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Infrastructure and Economic Development Committee meeting for March 16th. And first up, we have Mr. Hoyen giving us a downtown rehabilitation phase 4 update. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Chairman Bressie. Short little update. We've conducted a building owner inventory of all the buildings in the downtown phase 4. This was required for about 3 reasons. We want to email all the building owners to remind them of all the grants and incentives that the city has available to them. Also, for some of the land agreements that Connor has to produce to get the ability to use the frontage on their property. And thirdly, our contractor and engineering firm are beginning today to start the planning for the installation of temporary water to all the buildings downtown. So if they require help to find an owner, I'll be assisting them. And Connor and I were downtown last Friday, going from business to business, doing some glad handing and getting prepared for some of these, the work coming up. So like I say, short and sweet. We haven't, and I'm continuing to work to train my replacement also at this point in time. And that's basically it for right now.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, I was just wondering what the owners that you met with, what's their general overall opinion of what's taking place?
Sorry, Councillor O'Toole, you're really quiet. I think you might need to move your microphone closer.
How's that?
Yeah, we can hear you good now.
I was just wondering, Monty, as you were doing your tour and talking to the owners, what's the overall opinion? Are they looking forward to it? Or are they a little bit disappointed that we continued through? Can you just give me an overview?
Well, we only basically met an owner. A lot of them were just the businesses as we tried to find the correct owners that we had to contact. But he was very disappointed. There was, let's just say he was very disconcerted that, well, basically with the entire project. He did have concerns basically with the design and everything else, but there was only one owner that we had contacted at that point in time.
I did have a conversation with the Central Barbershop, and they had some concerns that they weren't exactly aware of what construction is going to take place on the 101st and 100th, that little intersection between the Sawmill and Central Park. They may want to have a conversation with you.
Okay. I have seen and I've heard that they've closed their doors completely.
Central
Barbershop.
No, I was in there the other day getting a haircut.
Okay. Well, then I will pop in and I will talk to them. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, then I think you're off the hook. Thank you for being here today.
Sorry for being late, guys. Have a good day.
It's us that was very late. So thank you for your patience. Great. We do have direct service area report. Something I should have said right off the top. My apologies, committee, for missing it. But we're going to add item 3.3 under reports, which will just be a follow-up to the build letter that we received a while ago. But that brings us to item 3.2, Director Service Area Update. Director Glavin.
Thank you, Chair Bressy. We'll start in economic development. They continue their Serving Up Knowledge series, which has a session this Thursday as well. They have an additional next week on HR and recruitment. We continue to work with Aquaterra and the engineering firm doing the Hughes Lake servicing study. There is communications going out to landowners in the area, informing them of the study and inviting them to ask us and the consultant any questions. As well, with regard to new business license outreach, Economic Development has launched a new program to work with our business licensing group to congratulate and welcome new businesses to the city as they register. And so far, they have met with or connected with 13 new commercial businesses as well as 17 home-based businesses. In energy and environment, we're getting close to wrapping up the construction of the combined heat and power unit at Eastlink Center. The tentative end date is March 29th, with it being fully commissioned by April 12th. There's a bit of a delay in the commissioning because they need construction to be complete before they can commission it, obviously, and the technical group commissioning it comes out of the US and then have COVID protocols in order to actually be free to work, which results in about a 2-week delay. For engineering services, we've posted the Mount View Stormwater Management Tender as well as drainage improvements for Township Road 721 in the Northwest. We've also recently closed the pedestrian bridge maintenance tender, the second phase of road rehabilitation for 92nd Street and Pinnacle Drive, our local road rehabilitation phase 1 for Mount View and as well as 115th Street over by Costco, the 108th Street and 100th Street road rehab and upgrades, geometric upgrades for 132nd Avenue and 100th Street, as well as mill and fills for both 100th Street from 128th Avenue north to city limits and 108th Street from the 100th Avenue intersection to south of the Bear Creek Bridge. In transportation, we've converted 4 more stop signs to yield signs in the Arbor Hills neighborhood. And as well, we may be done our snow removal this year, crossing our fingers. We're a little bit early with spring melt. Right now, we have our reductor truck out there cleaning any of our catch basins that might have freezing in order to ensure we don't have any flooding issues. There's significantly less snowpack this year than there has been in 2018 and last year, so we're not anticipating the level of flooding that we saw along the Bear Creek corridor last year. However, we were surprised last year when we got the large snow dump at the end of March, so if we don't see that again, things are looking fairly good right now. We have crews on all of our shifts right now doing potholes. As with the melt coming a little bit sooner than normal, we're seeing a lot of potholes developing right now. In parks, our bike skills project was awarded, and our first meeting with the consultant is this week, actually today. So right now we do have we'll be bringing forward the kind of a draft plan on what the landscaping will look like for that bike park at the next meeting. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Great. I see Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Bressy. Director Glavin, is there communication to City Grande Prairie residents in regards to keeping their eye open for potential troubled areas when it comes to manholes, things that are covered, drainage systems that are covered from snow removal, et cetera? I must admit that I saw my children out there trying to assist the other day, and I thought to myself, that's probably not appropriate. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that has those situations, and I'm wondering what the proper process is and if we communicate that out at this time of year.
Thanks, Chair Bressy. So the process on that, depending on, for most things you can report through C-Click-Fix or you can call our Citizen Contact Center. And they'll distribute that to the appropriate department. Anything spring melt related is usually going to be a transportation or engineering issue. So they have their own service request that goes through internally, so it can be tracked, and then it goes from them on to the appropriate department. So that would be the first course of action. We do suggest that people, if they are adjacent to a catch basin and they see it covered with ice, that it's in their interest in order to free that up of ice. So if they had an ice, pick or shovel or something to get the ice out of there, that's in their interest and anybody else in the neighborhood. But also they can certainly report that, and we do have crews that can go out and free that up. As far as communications in advance, I'll have to check and see what we put out in the spring.
Great, thank you, if I may, Chair Bressy. I think that's great information. Somebody taking a shovel, et cetera, and assisting is fine, but I'm sure we don't want people taking this upon themselves. So any information, and I like your advice in regards to calling the customer contact center. So thank you.
Any other questions for Director Glavin? Great. I am not seeing any, so thank you for the report, Director Glavin. And we are going to do our walkout item 3.3, which is follow-up to that build letter. And is that going to be you or Mr. Tarrant, Director Glavin? Mr. Tarrant, there.
Thank you, Chair Bressy. So this is in regards to the request from Build that came at the end of December to Aquaterra, requesting that the infrastructure charge that Aquaterra charges be waived for a period of 1 year. The Aquaterra chose not to move in that direction, but they did offer an 18-month deferral program for the infrastructure charge. Bill then requested of committee that the city look at possibly funding off the infrastructure charge, and so that's where we are today. Administration has looked at the request. There are some concerns with whether we would be able to forgive or waive those charges, in that it's treated similarly as an offsite levy. And so there are some concerns there. Certainly we can't waive or defer offsite levies. However, and then these may be viewed in the same light. So there's some concerns with that. However, if council and committee would like to provide further incentives to the home building industry, there's the potential to do so through, our recommendation would be through an infill program where properties that are underserved or vacant or brownfield sites are identified for development. And then there may be potential for commercial or residential infill opportunities. In doing that, we'd be incentivizing the home building sector, but also achieving some public policy goals in terms of cleaning up brownfield sites and increasing density in existing areas. The other thought is that if committee would like to further incentivize the construction industry, incentivizing some commercial or industrial development would be preferable, in that that would drive economic investment here, and the housing investment follows as labor comes to work in those industries. So with that, that's council's or administration's recommendation. There was one other item that was brought forth from Build, which was the infrastructure charge itself and changing in the way that that it's funded, and the suggestion was that it be funded more on a sliding scale. Our suggestion is that we bring that to Aquaterra as part of the agreements review that we're currently undergoing, and look at it holistically as part of all the Aquaterra agreements. And so that's certainly a place that we can fit that in.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from committee? Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Bressy. Mostly a comment, but thank you for your work on this, Mr. Trant. I think that, obviously there's a lot of thought and consideration put into this. I do think it's, looking back, that I still believe it's a bit unfortunate that Aquaterra didn't see an opportunity here to support the region in regards to development and consider this as an option. I like your suggestions of incentive programs. I do have a couple thoughts on that. I'll leave time for other council members to ask questions, and then if you want to come back to me for a motion, I'd be happy to put one forward. Thanks.
Sure. Are there any further questions? Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you, Chair Bressie, and thank you, Rory, Mr. Tarrant, for this report. Just a question in the scope and I guess the amount of work that would need to go into a goods infill development, especially along the residential lines. Bill has asked for us to look at or Alcaterra and us to look at a 12-month sort of reprieve on their fees that they have to pay. But how complicated could this infill strategy be? Would that take us beyond, I guess, Build's comfort level of what their expectations are of having something presented to them within the year, or is this a 6-month process, or is this like a 6-week process?
Depending on the complexity, it could be a very quick process. We could have something developed within a month or two, as long as the parameters of the program were quite simple, and we're looking at it just $1 per door type of in development. If there was a wider range of public policy goals or details that we would want included in the infill, then that could take a little more time to build and explain. We're in the position too that we can rely on. There's a number of other incentive programs across the province that other municipalities have offered. So certainly we could pull from some of the best of those and have those ready to present in fairly short order to meet this construction season.
Awesome. Thank you. And if I may, one more question, Chair Bressie.
Yeah, please.
Just in regards to the funding of this, so in my report, $450,000 we have in the Economic Development Recovery Fund. If we were going to implement anything like this, such as an industrial attraction strategy or an infill strategy for commercial or residential, would that be part of our intent, is to consult with the Economic Development Advisory Council to see what their thoughts are on these strategies?
I would suggest that would be a good place to go to consult with and identify. The fund. There is the economic recovery funds that are available. However, if there was further spending that wanted to be invested into these programs, administration could take a look at a couple other funding opportunities.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. Question for Mr. Tarrant or Director Glavin. You may not know, but I'm curious. Do we know the number of infill opportunities in the community currently? And the reason I ask that, obviously, bare developed land is much quicker to get a product on. An infill opportunity, unless it's already bare, is going to be slower. And do we know, is there an identified number of infill bare sites ready to go in our community? And infill for intensification and for revitalizations of neighborhoods, so in existing developed neighborhoods.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Bressie. So we do have a vacant land map that does track vacant parcels. With any infill, you hit on the other one, is anything that needs to be taken down before you can build. We don't have a map of those types of properties out there. That's fairly subjective and would be up to what profit margin or what type of product the developer was looking to achieve on those. But short answer is yes, we do have vacant land mapped out. The other ones are harder to put a number on.
Sorry, Mayor Clayton, you're muted.
Thank you. If I can, Chair Bressie, so I appreciate the intent of the infill. I don't think it's the only opportunity for us in regards to residential development. I think consultation with industry would be important, as well as Economic Development Advisory Committee. So And with that consultation of industry, I would hate to put forward an opportunity to get people back to work, create jobs, create economy, and industry is not prepared to take an opportunity. So consultation with industry to say, this is what we're thinking. Is this even in your interest? Will you see success by utilizing this? Will you subscribe to this money if we were to put it there? There's no point us putting money forward if there's no interest in subscribing to it. So I think consultation with industry. I like Councillor Thiessen's comment of consulting with economic advisory, the advisory committee rather. But if there's no further questions, Chair Bressie, I'd be prepared to put forward a motion.
Yeah, I've got some thoughts, but I'll wait till motion's on the table to share them. So
sure,
please.
Perfect. So I would move that committee direct administration to consult with Economic Development Advisory Committee, as well as build for the consideration of a residential development incentive, as well as an industrial attraction incentive, and bring back to this standing committee for further discussion.
Great. Yeah, definitely in order. So a thought that I've got that I'd like us to explore, and I'm curious, Mayor Clayton, if you'd see this exploration of this potentially fitting in with the motion you made, is home ownership grants. I know that historically we've offered home ownership grants to low-income families that couldn't afford them otherwise. My understanding is the program ran into issues because of mortgage stress tests, and 4 years later there might be a different climate for that. So I'd love us to explore that again. I think it makes a lot of sense if we want to help out residential construction for a few reasons. One, it gives a social benefit. It gets somebody who can't own a home owning a home, which also gets them out of a rental unit, which helps our rental market. So you got a social benefit there. Number two, if we're incentivizing a house like that, we know it's a house that wouldn't have gotten built anyways. I'd hate to see us give money towards a unit and make it cheaper if whoever was going to buy it was going to buy that anyways, and we just made their life a little bit easier. I don't know if that's accomplishing what we want to accomplish, but if it's going towards a family that we know couldn't buy a house otherwise, then we know it actually created a new house in our community. And the third reason is I get worried with us making too much bets on the market in terms of maybe there's appetite and market need for infill development, but maybe it's only greenfields what the market's interested in right now. And if we're incentivizing home ownership, and that can go anywhere it wants in the community, that could go to a new infill, that could go to a new greenfield. There's just a lot more freedom for the market to figure it out. And so for me, I'd love us to explore that. I'm wondering if you'd see exploration of that being possible under this motion you're making, Mayor Clayton, or if you think that would be a completely different thought than what you're talking about.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Bressie. I think your third point is, in my opinion, is the reason why we would go to industry for consultation and to see if there is an appetite for greenfill and or infill. I like your suggestion. I don't know if it fits here. I think that anything that incentivizes is home ownership to me seems like more of a community services initiative. I'm struggling a bit to see how it fits here.
And I guess for me, it is a community services, and in regular times, I wouldn't bring it into this conversation, but I really do think that there is some merit to it in terms of if we want to get houses built and we want to help the construction industry, I think it might actually be a quicker and a more market-based way to get what we're trying to do than just saying, hey, this is just for infills. And so I think that I really am looking at it from a lens of economic recovery more so than the social side of it.
I guess then, how do you see that amending the motion? The motion is very specific, so I'm curious what you're thinking there.
Well, so what's the exact wording of your motion again?
I'm actually just working with our recording secretary on that. The motion is committee direct administration to consult with Economic Development Advisory Committee and build for the consideration of a residential incentive development program, as well as an industrial attractive attraction incentive program and bring back to this standing committee for further discussion.
Yeah, and I mean, when I hear the wording of your motion, the idea that I'm talking about, I think could be encompassed in that and explored within that motion. But I'm wondering if you'd be okay with that, or if you'd view that the same way.
I'm fine with it encompassing it. I don't know if we need to change the wording. I think administration understands the discussion, and I'm comfortable that administration would bring back, options after discussion with EDAC, and BUILD.
Great. Yeah, and just my intention is maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not a bad idea. I think it's one that's worthy of at least some conversation in this.
And I'll leave that to Director Glavin is the motion as is, encompassing sort of the discussion.
Yeah, Director Glavin, and then I'll go to Councillor Thiessen.
Yes, Chair Bressie, I think that we understand the direction based on the discussion. I'd look to Rory for a head nod.
Great. Councillor Thiessen.
Yeah, I like how you double posited that one there, Chair Bressie, where you're like, it could be a good idea, it could be not a bad idea. It's pretty good double positive. Yeah, I don't mind the motion at all. I will support it. Coming back and getting more information on this, along with our legal team and our administration and the professionals out there is a good thing. I think right now I need a little convincing on some of this. So, where does multifamily rest in this? Is that a per door basis? Like if we put up 40 units and they get like $15,000 per door, that could be all of our funding gone in one development, but it'll house 40 people and build a multifamily house. I think where my leanings is right now is in the industrial attraction strategy or the industrial infill strategy, however that plays itself out, and largely because if we create the atmosphere for people to move into the city, and much like they will when the hospital gets built, and it's open. I guess it's built, but it needs to be open. I think industry naturally will just draw people to the area for jobs and opportunity, and build that sense of community. Pretty much how Grande Prairie built itself from the ground up. So, if we can find a way to draw more industry into the city, hopefully the region is another possibility. I think that'll do great for our housing, and it'll be good for the construction industry as well as for our home builders. So I can get behind this. I need to see more information before I'm an all in. Otherwise, I'm still sitting on the industrial attraction strategy because I think everything comes after that. But appreciate the motion, Mayor Clayton, and appreciate the addition, Chair Bressie. So yeah, I'm ready to vote if we're good to go.
You see, Mayor Clayton, I'll just make my comment and then I'll maybe let Mayor Clayton close. I know for me, I think that an industrial attraction strategy is something that we have had a number of conversations and we've worked on, and an incentive program is a natural basis for that. So I'm excited to explore it. I guess which one's better and which one should be a focus right now kind of depends on what we want. I think that housing builds are a lagging indicator of a healthy economy. And I don't think you build a good economy by building houses necessarily. I think you have a good economy, then houses follow. And so if we're looking at long-term economic development, unquestionably in my mind, attracting more commercial and industrial development is how you get that long-term economic development. On the other hand, though, if this is about short-term economic recovery due to COVID, then I think we're more likely with proper incentives to see houses go up quickly than we are with those industrial decisions being made by industry. And so I think if it's all about short-term recovery, housing might be the way to go. But if it's about long-term economic development, then industrial is probably the way to go. So I think it's important we're talking about both. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. Yeah, I appreciate those comments, and from Councillor Thiessen as well. One thing in an industrial attraction incentive program that I think is important is industrial revitalization. We have an industrial park that is not oversubscribed by any means currently. It could use support in regards to revitalization. And so with that attraction, I think that there's opportunity in existing developments. Does that mean that you approach that as an attraction incentive? Probably not the same thing as a revitalization of existing infrastructure. So something for consideration. With that, I would just ask for committee support on this. I look for further discussion on what the opportunities were based on the feedback we get from industry as well as our advisory committee in regards to economic development in our city. So thank you.
I did say that was to close, but Councillor or Mayor Clayton, are you okay with me letting Councillor Thiessen get in one more time? And then I'll let you close if you feel you need to. All right, Councillor Thiessen.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Jackie. No, I didn't want to debate at all. I just wanted to add one other thing. It was a thought that popped in my head. One thing that's important in bringing forward both of these strategies and what I appreciate about Mayor Clayton's motion is housing readiness. So I mentioned the hospital earlier. If this incentivizes us to be ready once we get all those doctors and nurses and the other professionals that inevitably will come with the opening of the regional hospital, the more prepared our construction and home builders industry is as far as having stock and inventory for those people, the better. So I really look forward to all the information coming out of these reports. Thanks.
Great. Are we ready to vote? In that case, I will call it to question. Motion carried. Then just a little housekeeping thing is, do we feel that we need to make a motion to give any more response to build than we already have, or are we okay just leaving it like this? Not seeing anybody. It looks like everybody's okay leaving it off, and I certainly am too. So then.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Mayor Clayton.
I'm not saying no. I would just ask that if possible, administration follow up with Bill to let them know the discussion that was happening today.
Yeah, and I definitely suspect I definitely expect that same of administration, but do you feel we need another motion from committee to follow up with build, or it's good? Okay, good. Then I'll move on to the outstanding items list with Director Glavin.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. So today we dealt with the Build Grande Prairie request, and we'll come back with recommendations on the new motion. Bike Skills Park is on track. There was a motion about a month ago for the barrier-free grant to have an update within 1 year. We have this in our calendars. It doesn't really need to be on the outstanding items list unless committee would like it to remain on there, but we will ensure we don't miss that one. And item 1137 will be here next meeting.
Okay, I know, speak for me, I'm certainly fine removing it from the outstanding items list. Councillor Thiessen?
Yeah, I too am fine with removing it from that. I have complete faith in our administration that they received the direction and we'll get those updates appropriately enough. So I'll just make the motion to approve the outstanding items list as amended. Great.
And then Director Glavin will almost be caught up with Director Manuel. So we got to figure out what to give in 2 weeks. All right. So yeah, I'll call to question. Great, and that motion carries. And with that, I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. I know that it started late and went late, so thanks for your patience, everyone.
Have a good day, everyone.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you too. Thanks for your time, all.